Kenna: Bridge of Spirits is a third-person action-adventure RPG that was developed by Ember Lab and released for the PS4, PS5, and PC on September 21st, 2021. On my birthday earlier this year, I was gifted a physical copy of the game's deluxe edition for the PS5. The deluxe edition came with a code for DLC and a sticker sheet. On the 1st of September, I started my playthrough of the game. Kenna is a spirit guide, born into the profession and as passionate about it as those who came before her. She assists troubled spirits who are trapped in the physical world and guides them in making the transition into the spirit world. The process itself is straightforward, but in order for Kenna to help these spirits, she has to find out what it is that's holding them back. She experiences visions of their lives and what led them to their current state of disarray as a final puzzle piece to understanding the spirit's pain firsthand. As I played through the game, I realized something. Everyone Kenna interacts with and speaks to is at that point in time dead. Kenna is the only living person in this story. However, she isn't truly alone. The Rot are small spirits that follow Kenna throughout the game. They are adorable, but also incredibly powerful. Exploration is rewarded with the discovery of new Rot companions who not only follow Kenna throughout her adventure, but also serve as useful aids in combat and environmental puzzle solving. Despite sounding like a negative connotation, the Rot do the exact opposite of their namesake. The forest is decaying and evil spirits roam the corrupted land. Upon defeating these creatures, the Rot collectively restore the forest to its original state. It's up to Kenna to stop the gradual decay of the forest by defeating the malicious spirits so corrupted that they can't leave the physical world on their own. The Rot were an integral part of Kenna's gameplay. Not only were they precious little things that had to be protected at all costs, but they were essentially the key element to progress and further explore the areas within the game. After locating a certain number of Rot, their collective level increased by 1, and with each level gained, the Rot learned a new ability that could either open up more paths by interacting with the objects in the environment, or they learn a new combat ability allowing them to amplify the power dealt by Kenna's weapon strikes. I continued to raise my Rot's collective level, and this gave me incentive to backtrack to areas I frequented to interact with objects that were once closed off to me. Kenna carried around her spiritual staff that doubled as her main weapon in combat. Kenna could perform different strikes with her staff and could even transform it into a bow and arrow. While both weapons were satisfying to use, nothing could beat a Rot-powered attack. My favorite attack to use was a powerful downward slash of Kenna's staff, made even more powerful with the Rot's assistance. Later in the game, Kenna is able to produce sticky bombs that assisted more so in the platformer puzzle-solving parts of the game. I enjoyed the platforming aspect of the game as the puzzles were never too difficult to solve. There were some platforming segments that I had to redo multiple times because I either messed up the timing of certain actions or straight up clicked the wrong button, ruining the streak. It's definitely satisfying for me when a tricky platforming segment was completed, and if the segment didn't reward you with story progression, you were rewarded with special items or money. A big part of the game that didn't alter the story or gameplay in any way, shape, or form was Rot hats. As you play through the game, you are able to purchase and sometimes find special hats for the Rot to wear. I love this wholesome little gimmick because it just made me happy. As I watched the Rot running around with their little hats, I thought to myself, if anything bad happened to these little things, I would be genuinely upset. The feeling reminded me of how protective I felt over Ellie during my first playthrough of The Last of Us. I think the rarest hat I had was the rainbow unicorn hat, and it was absolutely hilarious seeing the Rot with that hat on screen because it just stuck out so much. Like, I would be in a dark area full of decay with daunting music playing in the background, and in the corner I'd just see a little glittery rainbow emitting a gold shine whenever it moved. It was great. There were parts in the game where you could meditate in order to expand your health bar. These particular segments were a nice addition to the game as they gave players a chance to relax and admire the game's visuals. The entire time playing this game, I couldn't help but find the environments to be reminiscent of other media I've seen in the past. There were parts of the game where the environments were so vibrant, and other parts where the corrupted forest looked like hell itself. Overall, I appreciated how the game was able to change its tone without losing its environmental aesthetic. The boss battles were some of my favorite parts in the game. The design of the bosses were incredibly eerie looking, not only because of some of the masks they wore, but because of their sheer size. A lot of the bosses towered over Kenna and had some powerful attacks. Along with the dark tone change in music during the boss battle came some unsettling feelings which made the fights that much more memorable to me. The music of the game, composed by Jason Gallaty, was influenced by gamelan music, which includes predominantly percussive instruments. Gallaty worked with music group Gamelan Kudamani, who was hesitant at first to create cultural and meaningful music for a video game. However, they eventually agreed to work together and created some great tracks for all aspects of the game. For me, this game was a breath of fresh air. A simple, linear experience that tells Kenna's story. The developers mentioned they meant for this game to be a quick game to play on your weekend, and that's exactly what it was for me. With the complications and time consumption of adulthood, it's convenient for me to play shorter games. And with the dark yet beautiful visuals mixed with excellent music tracks, the game's cinematic scenes could have easily passed as an animated film. What really drew me to Kenna's character was that not only was she determined, but she also embodied the most vital trait to being a spirit guide, and that is empathy. As she ponders the visions of spirits' lives, she is able to fully understand their train of thought, and in turn, how to help them in the best way possible. In this game's world, there's not always finality in death, and Kenna serves as that second chance to finally move on.